Hey man, how's it going?
Oh, not too bad. Nice weather we've been having, it's
Yeah.
warm during the day and cool at night, so I can
Mm-hmm.
still get those nice sleeps, but it's starting to get a little warmer, and I didn't like that.
Yes, but we're supposed to be getting some rain soon, so it's going to be cooling down anyway. So that'll be
Yep.
nice. You get the cool days again for a little bit, at least for for the week or whatever. But yeah, it should be good. But yeah, welcome back everybody to Bite My Shiny Metal Cast, episode 8 of season 5, The Why of Fry. All right, please like and subscribe if you like talking things all Futurama. What do you think of this episode overall? Do you think this is a nice sequel?
Oh,
I
it's
guess kind
it's
of
an
a sequel,
important.
right? Yeah.
It's the most important episode, I think, of Futurama. The reason why Fry came to the future.
That's true. That's true. And I guess it's kind of like a sequel to both the Roswell that ends well, right? Because we learn more about the
Yes.
Delta brainwave thing, and what's the one when the day the Earth stood stupid, right? That's the day when the
Yeah.
brains came. So those two episodes are precursors to this one. You wouldn't know exactly what happened unless you knew those episodes. So this is where the continuity really gets in there. But yeah, let's get into the episode then. So our opening caption: dancing space potatoes. You bet. I'm disappointed to find out that there were no dancing space potatoes, though. I guess they
I
really were just
mean,
one of these things, but yeah.
isn't it like a whole thing of like some alien life can be just like a simple like orb of flesh or something like that? So people are like, oh, space potatoes, or am I just making that up?
I think you're making that up. My only thought was
Well, then
maybe
I'm a genius.
I think the only thing maybe there was isn't there a line that Fry uses something about like Herbie's being like a potato man or outer space potato man or something? Do you remember that from the beginning time? He's like,
Yeah, I'm
it's
pretty
like, oh wait,
sure he said
yeah, you're from
brains.
Jamaica, yeah.
Oh, there's something else. Like I want to go back to this where brains flew in space and shot lasers out of their eyes or something like that. I think you might have mentioned potatoes during that rant of his too.
Isn't that
I
in
could
the
be wrong.
future? Isn't
I
that,
don't
oh no,
know.
we passed that episode? Yeah, because you watch a few of these episodes and you kind of get them mixed up, right? But in any case, we open on the Planet Express HQ, and Fry uncharacteristically coming in a spacesuit and all this kind of stuff, right? Super important, wanting to get ready for his own mission as the delivery boy or whatever. Walks in with Amy and Zoidberg. I don't know why, but Zoidberg is taking a bath in the what is that, like the harbor, like the meeting room area, right?
Yeah,
And
but like it's like one of those
you know,
old timey like stand up tubs with like
yeah, I
legs.
guess I
Like
guess that you could put water in it wherever or something,
yeah,
but
like
yeah,
well, first off, there's no drain or anything. It's basically just a giant bowl, so to speak. How did they get
hmm
the water there? Why is he soaking there of all things? And
right.
who let him do this? Also,
And why is
I do not like that he has a blowhole, which is more of a mammal thing than a crustacean. So that's I think my one
yet
weird
another thing? Yeah,
canonical thing I
my
don't
thing
like
is
about
that
him.
Amy refuses to move despite the fact that she's clearly had things blown on her before because she has a napkin that just wipes her face.
Giggity, yeah.
Like she's just getting ready for it, right? But any case, and I like her little book or whatever. She's like Martians are from Mars and Venetians are from Venus or something. Like it's
It's
very
just the future
very
version of men are from Mars and women are from
women are from
Venus.
Venus, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of a funny little joke. Any case, Fry is very serious, and he's of course wanting to go do his mission. He seems to have this upright position of himself, right? He thinks that he's this upright mentality, like he's so important because without him on the mission, there is no mission because he's indeed doing the delivery. However, as he states this, the Planet Express ship arrives, and it turns out that Leela and Bender had already gone on said delivery, leaving Fry behind because he was busy doing other things. And Fry feels super shocked. Like, how could you have done this? I'm the delivery boy. And it seems that, oh, actually we did it and it turned out better than usual. So you were actually not needed at all. So Fry's kind of disappointed. And later he's trying to apologize to Bender and Leela in the locker room, saying like, oh yeah, like I should have been there because
You
if
could
you
have needed
needed
me and I should
me,
have been there. Yeah.
yeah. And Bender
Nope.
denies it and all this stuff. And Leela, Leela's whatever, but Fry wants to, because we all know that Fry now has, and Leela obviously knows this as well. It's not like she doesn't know, but like Fry is, in love with her, wants to be with her, all this kind of stuff. And so he tries to make amends and say like, well, at least I could take you out to dinner tonight. She says, nope, I have a dinner date actually with the mayor's aide, which were introduced to later, named Chaz.
Who's that?
And
Who's voiced by the writer of this episode?
is it? I don't think
Bob
so. Nope.
Odenkirk?
Nope, you're thinking Bill Odenkirk. There's two different people.
It is voiced by Bob Odenkirk. Oh,
Bob
he's not. Yeah, he's not. Sorry, he's not the writer, but he is a writer. Oh no, sorry, never mind. He's the brother of a writer.
Yeah, he's Bill
Bill and
brother.
Bob.
Yes.
They both start with B's. Like who does that to their
I told
kids?
you. So Bob Odenkirk is actually Saul. If anybody's watched Better Call Saul or
He's in
Breaking
the movie
Bad.
Nobody.
He's also Mr. Nobody or the Nobody guy, right, from the movie. That's like the most recent.
There's a second one coming out. Yeah, there's a second one coming out.
Oh,
Ooh.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And in the past, he did like a lot of comedy skits and everything. Like he
was quite a comedian
and
stuff
comedy.
Like that. Yeah.
So I think
he was in How I Met Your Mother as Marshall's boss.
Right.
And one
Marshall's
thing
boss.
where he would yell, like his entire thing was he would yell at whoever, and then it somehow switched to Marshall, and he got why? It was a good episode.
Yes. So Bob Odenkirk is the voice of Chaz for the episode. As at the time he was doing a lot of comedy work or whatever. But in any case, Fry's automatically like dislikes the guy, he thinks he's a total blowhard and all this stuff, and we'll see why. But Fry's just super sad because like nobody seems to need him. Okay. So later, Fry is sad and he feels useless, and he's sitting on the couch with Bender and like petting Nibbler or whatever. And he tries to ask for something to do, or Bender offers to help him with like his sadness or whatever. So he recommends like, oh, let's go bowling, and Bender's like, nah, never mind. So it just leaves Fry even more sad or whatever. So later we see that Leela is indeed going on this date with Chaz, and the mayor's aide is super pompous and super important and all this, or at least he thinks he's super important, right? It's a juxtaposed to Fry's situation, right? They go to Elzar's, and Elzar, of course, is, also played by John DiMaggio, right? But I do like this. He shows up, and he's like, hi, table for two. We don't have a reservation. And Elzar is like, yeah, okay, come with me. And then he's like, I'm the mayor's aide.
Yeah.
And he like tries to like, but it's okay because I'm the mayor's aide. He's like, okay then. So Elzar brings him in, and due to some situation with a bug thing, and Chaz is like, oh, don't worry, I'll get you covered for your health check next time or whatever. Elzar
just goes like, oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor's aide, because like I don't know if he's being sarcastic or if he's just like being Elzar.
I think he is being sarcastic. He's like, you think you're better than everybody in this room, don't you? And he knows how to work that crowd. So he's like, here, have some free bread. And he just puts the bread that already squashed the bug onto their table.
He scraped it off. Though.
That's true. Yeah, maybe he wouldn't have done that for the regular group, right? However, it does impress Leela for whatever reason.
I do love it because she says, wow, free bread at a restaurant. Is there anything you can't do?
Can't fail the mayor.
So in the future, free bread is no longer a thing at restaurants. Not that I don't like. It's not really a thing here that much in Canada. Like, I think Olive Garden has it, but like after a certain while,
there's maybe not free bread. But if you go to like decent restaurants, usually they have some kind of appetizer they can give out to the table or whatever. And normally it's some kind of baguette. Yeah,
it's been a while. Is all I'm saying.
Sure. Most sit-down places will give you something like that for the most part. If they're Italian places or something like this, they'll usually do something like that. But yeah, I think the point of this is like, despite the fact that Leela's like hates phoniness and she hates people who aren't real, this guy's clearly a phony, but she's so taken in by like the fact that he can get stuff, I guess, that she's not used to or whatever, because she feels like she wants perfection, and this guy is like exuding. That's the thing. This guy is exuding confidence, right? It's the perfect amount of confidence, and it works very well if you like know what you're talking about and you feel like and you believe it yourself, right? This is exactly what this guy is. So everybody else can see it, Leela can't see it, and that's the joke of it. But in any case, later we find that Fry has left Bender or whatever, and he's drinking at Zorgnak's, right? The Irish, quote unquote Irish pub. That's obviously an alien name, but it's kind of a fun name there. And he's drinking alone. But wouldn't you know it, Leela and Chaz arrive at this place. I guess it's one of like the downtown places that also hits up for people who just want a quick drink before they go do their next thing. But Leela sees him, despite Fry trying to hide from her. But Leela sees him, and she's like, oh, I'm glad you're here, which makes Fry kind of happy. But it turns out it's only because she needs him to go home to her place, because she may not make it home, wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
To help out with walking Nibbler. Right, her pet. Otherwise, things could happen. So she tells him, like, definitely, bring a bag in case he, poops or something. But, could you walk Nibbler? And of course, Fry being, in love with her and also being a bit of down on himself. He has no confidence in himself. He says, okay. And he agrees to do it, right? So We see later Fry's walking Nibbler on the street, and sure enough, Nibbler does poop. And something is this is established, right? Yeah, we would have seen this when we first introduced to Nibbler. Nibbler poops dark matter, which at the time is also what ships are using for their fuel. So Nibbler is actually a really good pet to have on the ship in case they ever get stranded somewhere, because then they could just throw it in there for a little bit of extra fuel, which they have in the past.
That's the third movie, correct? Where they explain this a little more?
Yes, and that's also when it stops.
Yes, but they haven't really ever talked about that since then, have they?
That's right, yeah. Well,
I don't think they have.
Dark matter, as far as I'm aware, is never used in the Comedy Central run for anything, nor the Hulu run. So I'm pretty sure
the beginning, I think somewhere along the
line
shows, episodes and stuff, they were using whale oil, and I'm pretty sure that was just a joke, because that's what we as humankind used to use like 120 years ago, kind of thing.
Is whale oil?
We start using petrol.
Is whale oil the gas that they use for it, or is
it the brand name?
The brand. Well, also oil and gas are different things, right? Oil could be the thing that's running through the engine to make sure it's lubricated, versus the fuel, which is actually burning in the engine, which is what the dark matter is. That could be what it is.
Both.
Too. Yeah,
I don't know, because I think that was one of the episodes where Bender went to he got cut up by the can opener.
That's right. Yeah, he got cut open. Yeah. With Beck, right? Yeah.
With Beck, yeah, that was a while ago. So, like, when did they establish the dark matter engine?
I think they established it in like the first season, because that's when they introduced Nibbler, because I think they actually needed Nibbler's.
Okay, so then maybe the whale oil was probably just the rating price for that episode.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah.
So, any case.
Okay, sorry. My other problem is that it weighs 1,000 tons, so that Fry can't pick it up, right?
That's right.
But also, it should probably
it's very
crush
heavy.
through. Yeah, it should crush through all of New New York, because it's above old New York. And also, in the movie, when they're like gassing up, how does the pump and stuff pump up this 1,000,000-pound thing? Like, I have questions.
So the way I've worked around my head, I'm pretty sure imagine it like being very heavy in the state in which it's in. So when it drops down, it doesn't fall. It's just stuck in space. Like, that's where it's supposed to be. If you try to move it from said area of space, it's impossible. But it doesn't move. So it's just stuck in that kind of area. How this works, I don't know, but that's basically what it is. So it's not impossible to move. It's just very, very difficult to move, but it just stays in one area of the universe. So if the Earth moves,
how does it break down? How does it break down for fuel, or just the ball kind of just gets absorbed? I don't know.
I think it just gets absorbed, and then it just kind of
sciencey wincy stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, like the professor.
Futurama sciencey wincy stuff. It's also an alien that poops this out. So, and they have black holes for stomachs. Whatever it is. So, any case, as Mitchell mentioned,
don't think too hard is what you're saying.
Yeah. Nibbler poops this thing out. Fry tries to pick it up, and the police show up. So we get a cameo of I think it's Smitty and Earl, right?
Yep.
And
URL.
URL. They give Fry a ticket for not being able to scoop up the poop, which
please,
Fry,
the weight of 1,000 tons. I can't move it.
Yeah. So, any case, they give it to him. So Fry's even more down. Walks over after the ticket. I think Chaz and Leela drive by, and Chaz is like, "Hey, I'll get you tried as a juvenile, so you get less. You have to pay less money for your fine." And Leela's even impressed by that. So,
Chad.
So they drive off.
Chad.
Fry even feels even worse about himself. So he and Nibbler walk into the alleyway. Fry, kicks a garbage can. He sits down. He's like, "Oh, I'm the most useless thing, but at least I'm useful to you, Nibbler, even if it's only if I pick up your poop." To which then Nibbler speaks, and of course the thing he says is like, "Oh, you're actually more important than you know. It's not just that." And Fry is
wait.
What?
He's talking again.
Yes, but we didn't know this, right?
But before this, because I've been on the Reddit for a little while, right? And we look up this episode and stuff like that. Someone says, "Wait, why is there trash cans? New York isn't supposed to have trash, because in like the 4th episode,
it's changed.
It's a piece of garbage."
It's changed.
Yeah, so I think I read the comments and
someone's
like,
the timeline. Sorry. Yeah.
because they showed evidence too of like other episodes with scenery and stuff, like there's garbage everywhere. So it's just like they're saving up garbage for the next garbage ball, but like it's all in the background, right? So the fact that now we have robots being garbage cans, because he kicked over a garbage can saying he was as useless as his garbage can. And of course now it's a robot. She's like, you think I'm as useless as you? You try putting through 5 kids through school while being a trash can. And then that was just kind of the joke she rolled away. So it's just it's very funny that there's like, maybe it could be just a headcanon thing where like, yeah, they're making more garbage for the next garbage ball or whatever in space. Who knows? But or they maybe forgot it. I don't know. Sorry, there's a little joke there that we forgot that was integral to the universe of New York.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I skipped over it because it is kind of that thing, but you're right. It is kind of like a continuity thing, because you're right. Back in the day, in the first season, we're established there is no garbage. Everything is recycled.
Even the sandwich.
I'm pretty sure. So it's actually, funny enough, actually this is kind of the irony of this episode. This episode is more important than you'd actually believe, even though it is super important. But it's because of Fry that they now have garbage. And it's because of Fry that garbage can is now in the alleyway there. So even to the garbage can, Fry is actually, the garbage can should be thanking Fry for even existing in the first place. So there you go. And it's also funny that the garbage can that he kicks also happens to be right below where the zoo garbage comes out. So it's all a bunch of like animal stuff, like banana peels and all this kind of stuff that spills on Fry. So it makes him feel even worse, up until the point that Nibbler says, like, no, you're actually much more important than you realize. And Fry freaks out, like, wait, you can talk? He's like, of course I can talk, and all this kind of stuff. And
I got many different types of powers, including
like
this.
What? Yeah. And
he just punches him out, which is like kind of sad, because I think do we not see him use like his third eyeball as like some kind of like thought or laser wave, or did I just imagine that?
No, that's at the end. That's how he blanks his memory.
Right. Okay. Yes.
No, you didn't imagine it. No, he takes out this thing. What's that called? Like a sack of, like, you think of some kind of like hard sack of something, like a satchel. But Nibbler takes out this small thing and just basically smacks Fry across the head and knocks him out, and that's one of his powers. But in any case, Nibbler essentially kidnaps Fry. He drags him to his ship. I mean, Nibbler's not weak, I guess. He pulls his full body. Ship, yeah. And we've seen the ship before, because this is where Leela was taken, right, when Nibbler saved her. And another thing as well, actually, is why is it that Nibbler is speaking to Fry normally? Unless Fry can understand him normally, because he doesn't have the Delta brainwave. But that's a whole other thing, I guess. But when we first met...
He's just talking to him. It's not brainwave.
But remember, on Earth, he didn't do that to Leela. He was telepathically communicating with her. So I'm wondering if
they forgot about that then.
They may have forgotten about that?
They have not used that since then. They have not used that since then, right?
That's
Anytime
true.
we've seen Nibbler, which we have seen him quite a lot in... from here on out and kind of thing. And whenever they had Frank Welker come back and do something, he's always Nibbler, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And he's never done the brainwave thing. So good point there. Good point there. Yeah.
One thing there. I would chalk it up to maybe because he's speaking to everybody, we're just all hearing that he's speaking now. And maybe in this one instance, maybe Fry we're just hearing what Nibbler says now, because we don't need the joke about like, oh, so if you're around for like millions of years, like what's the how did the universe begin? And he just goes, right, and we don't understand, right? So that's the joke. So I think it's okay that we're just listening to him now this way, but he does say like, oh, you can talk. So he's obviously speaking to him, right? So in any case, Nibbler kidnaps Fry, brings him to his ship, which we did see in the day the Earth stood stupid, and he flies off, and they fly back we get a return to planet Eternium, right? This is basically the exact center of the universe, or whatever it is, and we get to see the Council of Niblonians, right? Fry doesn't ask as many questions of the Niblonians as Leela did, like, oh, like, how are you guys even existing, or why is Nibbler's called Nibbler and you guys are called Niblonians? This is kind of like coincidental, but I guess he doesn't really think that way. However, the council does say at least like, welcome Fry, and they call him like your mightiness and all this kind of stuff, and Fry's like, this is silly, like how am I so important? Like I just got kidnapped by a bunch of you little creatures or whatever.
I think he said hamsters.
I think he says guinea pigs.
Guinea pig. Okay,
he calls them a bunch of different things. He says like, I wish those raccoons had never brought me to the future or something. Later, he just changes it to a bunch of different animals. But in any case, he says, yes, Fry, you are the most important person in the universe. And it turns out that
So when I'm drunk, Is how I feel when I'm drunk.
That's a little bit later, but yes.
But the Dave Matthews Band.
So they have a grand feast for this whole thing, and of course it's a bunch of animals. Some of them are little cameos from animals that we've seen on other planets beforehand or whatever. And all the Nibelunians eat
and a zebra.
The zebra, which Fry gets, but he decides not to eat it now. Maybe later.
Oh, yeah. Maybe
and
later.
they explain that due to Fry, the reason that Fry is so important is because Fry has the deficiency of lacking the delta brainwave. Okay. Now the delta brainwave. I do
love a little example here because he's trying to eat a pineapple that's on a string, and he's like he's bobbing for apples, but it's not in the.
It's on the water.
It's a hanging pineapple,
which
you don't eat the skin of. You don't eat the skin. That thing's sharp.
Yeah.
And so he's going,
He's still missing it.
Yeah, he's still missing it.
Due to a brain deformality or whatever they call it. And he's like, oh, is it because I'm so smart? And they laugh at him. They're like, oh my.
No, it's because he went back in time and fornicated with your grandmother.
Exactly, and therefore became his own grandfather, thus not being born with the delta brainwave. And this leads into a lot of different things that you and I have talked about for the future, if anything happens with this. Because even in one of the films, despite not having the delta brainwave, his mind can't be read, which is why the brains in The Day the Earth Stood Stupid didn't work on Fry, right, which was established then. So, this whole thing happens with Fry, and they're explaining all this kind of stuff to him, and they say that or later they bring Fry in the ship, in a bigger ship so he can stand up a little bit more. They bring him to the area where the brains have been gathering intelligence. Due to the fact that they're brains, all they want to do is take in knowledge and learn everything about the universe. However...
And what's this place called, Anthony?
What is it called?
The Infosphere.
Oh, the Infosphere. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. I was trying to remember.
Why that one website's named
why it's called that. Oh,
right?
That's brilliant. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's fun.
I was actually going to describe it. The Infosphere, thank you for bringing that up. The Infosphere is basically like a Death Star. It's just a giant circular, as sphere would be, right? Yeah. Just a giant circular in there.
It's got a couple not tentacles, antennas.
Antennas sticking out,
like 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom, kind of thing, to make it look a little more like knowledgey. I don't know.
And not the Death Star.
And not the Death Star.
So,
mind you, isn't Futurama technically owned by Disney now, so they could get away with something like that?
They could get away with it now, but at the time they couldn't.
No.
So,
Fox.
Turns out that the brains, because they're brains, they can just fly through space. These space brains, they can fly through space. They're just bringing all this information. Last bit of information, I think they talk about 2 + 2 is 4 or something. Or no, something is greater than 4, something like this kind of thing. And then a joke about an old commercial, some quality carpets or something. So, and beavers mate for life. That was the third last piece of information that the brains needed to learn or something. But as Nibbler and, the other council member explain, as brains want to gather more and more knowledge to do this stuff from the universe, they want to learn all the information. However, the universe is growing and expanding, and more people are learning new things and creating new things. So there's always going to be something needing to be learned. So
also,
the brains,
what do you consider as information, right? Because just like a person living from being born to death, everything they do, even the thoughts they think about, is information, right? Does that count? Kind of thing. Because again, with that old commercial for quality carpets, they're going to have a new commercial for that 6
they had every single
commercial, kind of thing, right?
Exactly. So imagine all the information that they have. But it's also it proves a point, because they even know maybe you should, a little bit later, right? They tell Fry maybe you should look at what happened to you on December 31st, 1999. They know about this information, right? Sure. So everybody's lives are all in this brain. And as brains or as life and everything continues to extend, basically the brain's plan is to gather all the information to present day and then destroy the universe. Therefore, nothing else will ever be learned, and they can complete their process. It's very much like the Brainiac situation.
Yeah, I was just going to say Brainiac, because he's doing
That's exactly what Brainiac is. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Obviously, this is way after Brainiac's creation, because Brainiac was probably created in the 80s or
something like this. And whatever, and maybe Brainiac was even created for a different reason than what the time now is. But yes, it's basically gather as much information as you can and destroy it, because then nothing else will ever come of it, right? So Fry's determined now, okay, I'm going to save it because I'm the only one that can do this and whatever. So they tell Fry, in order to do this, you must get into the machine when it scans itself, because it's literally going to be the last thing it does before it deletes the universe or destroys the universe. Plant a bomb that will then basically detonate and transfer the brain and all the other brains inside the sphere into an alternate universe where it can't hurt their universe. Okay.
Ooh,
and all Fry
another
can do,
universe.
Yeah, exactly. All Fry could do, mind you, that the other universe is literally like nothing. It's just a white blankness, right? The only thing that Fry has to escape on is something called a Scooty Puff Jr., which is like this little hovering little toy bike or whatever.
Yeah,
So
picture, like those big
little
wagons
tricycle
for
things,
kids kind of thing. It's like that, but for like a little scooter, a space scooter.
Space scooter. And Fry obviously has his helmet and everything because they want to be a little bit good with the science in this one, a little bit. So they push him out of the ship. He gets sucked out of the ship. He flies over to the station. And as it's scanning itself, Fry flies in as he's supposed to. And he scoots to the brain, right? He climbs up and he looks in. Now, inside the infosphere is a massive brain, like the brain of this thing. It's basically the size of it almost. And it talks a little bit. It gets all the information. Now, Fry climbs up on top of this brain and he sets the bomb. But before he pushes the button, there's like a little console where it has like a speaker and a little sensor. I don't know why, just in case a human ever shows up here, I guess. But basically,
yeah, it's a very weird thing to have on top of a gigantic brain.
Brain, right? But, for the consequences of the episode, I guess. So Fry's in communication with the Niblonians, and they're telling him, like, okay, don't get distracted. You got to hit that bomb because, like, it's going to destroy the universe soon. And Fry's like, well, hold on. I want to ask some questions, right? And so he does ask a couple of questions about, like, what is postage stamp made of? Apparently it's toad mucus. And then who killed the dinosaurs? It turns out to be the giant brain. So that's kind of funny.
I love that theory. Honestly, I like that theory more than any other realistic theory.
Sure. The brain.
The heat, climate change, asteroid.
Yeah. My favorite thing with the dinosaurs is still with the what is it then? With the scary door, and it's with the T-Rex, and that's my favorite thing with
mankind was doomed, except for their relationship with the mighty T-Rex. It's like the song says they's a creation.
Right.
I do love that. I really wish I could remember that line because there's been like 7 times in my life where there was an opportunity to say that, but I couldn't remember it because that's my hang up is I have terrible memory kind of thing. I know things happen, but I can't quote them.
Right. Yes.
It's an awful world to live in.
That's very true. So as Fry is saying these questions, the brains get an alert that somebody's toying with their stuff. So the brains come over there and they try and get Fry, and they kind of see him, but they try using their little brain blast thing on him. But unfortunately, it doesn't work.
I love this.
Yeah, they call him a dead weasel or something.
Yeah.
Or a cartoon viewer.
Yeah, I love that. I love it because it insults us because we're watching the cartoon.
We're watching the cartoon. Yeah,
there's no brain activity here. It could be a dead weasel or possibly a cartoon viewer. Pause. What are you doing here?
Yeah, exactly. So Fry's like immune to their problems or whatever, and they even know about him, obviously, because they've collected all this information, so that includes like the Niblonians. So they say like, oh, okay, what are you going to do or whatever? Like, you have no power here because Fry's Scooty Puff Jr. breaks, like it crumbles in front of him. So he's trapped on the brain, he can't get out. However, he says, nope, I know what I'm going to do, and he hits the button, and it sets off the timer for 60 seconds. Okay. Now, as they're doing this, the Niblonians are cheering for him on his little watch or whatever from their ship, and
smartwatch before smartwatches.
Right, and yeah, exactly. And Fry says, like, at least I'm going to triumph with good over evil. And the brains snicker at him, and they say, what? You think the Niblonians are good? Why don't you look into our machine and ask it about December 31st, 1999, as I alluded to earlier? So Fry's like, well, that's the day I got frozen. Why? What happened? And he's like, well, why didn't you check? And the Niblonians say, don't do it. Don't do it, especially Nibbler. Don't do it.
It could be boring.
Which almost gets Fry not to do it. But
whatever then.
So Fry speaks into the machine, and it turns out, as Fry got the IC Wiener pizza delivery thing, we've seen this before, right? We've talked about this before. The little shadow underneath the table turns out to be Nibbler. So Nibbler had actually, when Fry did the little, what do you ever call that, whistle thing, right, for Happy New Year's, it turns out it wasn't the thing hitting him in the face and shocking him to go back. Nibbler pushed his chair slightly, and it pushed him back, and he fell into the cryogenics tube. So it turned out to be the Niblonians that actually sent Fry to the future on purpose and ruined his life. And Fry is very, very sad that he lost out on that life because he was the only one that was needed at the time, or he was the one who was needed at the time. So bomb goes off, and all of the things get taken out and transported to the other universe. Okay.
We've seen this one, though. Like, we've seen this universe before, like the blank universe. Unfortunately, it was with the What If machine, where Fry didn't go to the future.
Oh, yeah, they didn't go to the future. That's right. Oh, yeah, that's a good call.
More or less
he's there with Al Gore Gary Gygax and what's it?
O'Hara.
Yeah, and
then
the
chess
Nichols, yeah, and the chess
machine or whatever, the chess robot.
Machine. Yeah, that's right.
From 1999.
Yeah,
so,
and they're all going to play.
and
Stephen Hawking, and they're all going to play Dungeons and Dragons for a good trillion years or whatever. Yeah, that was a good one. I like that. So, as the bomb detonates and it transports them in the alternate universe, the big brain, after, them talking about like, oh, we're going to leave you to die here alone. You're never going to have any friends or whatever.
That's for an eternity.
But the big brain, the massive brain says like, wait, there's a way that the man named Fry can be transported back because there's like a cross-dimensional, timey-wimey thing going on here. We can send him back.
This isn't timey-wimey. This is spacey-wacy.
No, it's time dimension. He's traveling. He's transporting him back in time.
Oh, yeah, that is true. But he's also spacey-wacy though, because he has to go back to that universe as well.
That's why they call it time dimension crossing.
It's timey-wimey, spacey-wacy.
There you go. So the brains make a deal. They say, Fry, if you go back in time and you decide to stay, you can stay in the present, right, in your time, and therefore you never come to the future. And then in the future, we will be okay and we'll destroy it. And then Fry's like, oh, great, everybody
wins.
So. Later, right, meanwhile, on the other side of this, back in the other universe, Chaz and Leela are going to go rocket skating, right? So they're still on their date. And,
why does rocket skates have a rink?
Well, I don't think that's the main point of this, Mitchell. I think the main point of this is that it's only been like a few hours. We've had Fry get kidnapped, flown all the way to Eternium, get his information, go to this other place, wherever this is, wait for this stuff, hit a detonation, and transport into a new universe within the span of 2 hours. And they took
we can say it was traffic. It was traffic in New York, because everyone who I've heard has been to New York, they say the traffic's the worst, even worse than LA, which I'm like, I don't know. Calgary traffic is bad, but you say it's worse than that? Okay.
It's definitely worse than that, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's 10 times the amount of people, right?
Oh,
but in any case, yes, they're also on a rink and they're going rocket skating or whatever. It's basically like ice skating, except they're hovering above and they, can just have
why even have a
jets.
rink at this point? Why even have a rink?
Probably because then people don't. Why do they have traffic out in space? It's probably so people don't break the rules and just fly wherever they want to go, right? They probably have to have a designated area.
Fall 100 feet or whatever it is.
Or hit a building. Or fall. Yeah, exactly. So maybe they just have a safe area for it. Or maybe it's magnets and it's propelling them off the ground and the rockets just kind of shoot them forward. There you go.
Magnets.
So, in any case, as they're there and they're all, they're practicing all this kind of stuff, and Chaz is really doing well with Leela. Leela's really, really infatuated with him, really likes him. However,
he's the mayor's aide. Like him.
The orphans from Leela's home of the orphanarium, as well as Mr. Vogel, right? He shows up as well, and all the kids that we've come to know, right? Know and love. And they can't go on because Chaz has basically booked the entire rink for himself. So Leela says, well, why don't we let them skate with us? It would probably mean a lot to those kids.
She also did mention earlier, too, though, that Fry once stood in line for like 6 hours.
6 hours, yeah. And Chaz says, oh, sounds like a real nobody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super pompous asshole. So Chaz is like...
Back to the kids.
Same thing with the kids, right? He says, like, beat it, kids. Get back when you come back when you have connections. Totally just, misunderstanding everything that Leela was talking about. Like, it would be a good thing to, let kids go with you and show that you're compassionate, because that's also what Leela apparently cares about. However, he doesn't. And Chaz is like, well, so am I going to get lucky? And she totally takes his badge and stuffs it into his face.
Yeah, she stuffs her whole fist with the badge in his mouth. It was weird for a frame or two there.
Sure.
But I do love this because my brother used this once on someone. I don't know if he didn't know how to act, because when the kids are like, hey, can we come here? He's like, no. And then one of the little kids like, we came here instead of eating today. Which is a hilarious joke. Yeah. It's so dark.
It's so dark. Right? I also he's like, well, when we go back to the orphanarium, you guys can slide around the gymnasium in your socks. And she's like, what socks? And they have to wait. So they have to wait looking at the two of them use the entire rink by themselves until the bus driver comes back from a haircut. So they have to watch it happen too.
Well, so and the funny thing is, like he doesn't say like, "Hi, Leela, how's it going?" or anything, because he was her warden kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So they haven't really ever touched on that, I think, since that one particular episode kind of thing. Of course, they all show up and stuff like that, but we don't really ever see that relationship again, unfortunately.
They don't talk they don't like directly talk or communicate to each other as if they knew each other. That's true.
But
except for one episode where Fry gets information from him about Leela's disappearance. With her parents.
That was with her
Fry
parents.
does that. Yeah. So maybe she was ashamed of growing up in the orphanarium, so she doesn't want to pretend that she knows them. She just cares about the kids' well-being or something.
Well,
who knows?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past that. But here's the funny thing, though. The 2 times we've seen Leela be happy with a date and stuff like that was Adelaide, who I love our headcanon that he's half gray alien, half human, because he's so neutral about it, right?
Sure.
And then we get this guy Chaz, and every time that she's been with the orphans, she realizes that person's a jackass, and she breaks up with them. So that's 2 for 2 so far. Whenever we see Leela on a date, and the orphans are involved.
That's true. Every time they insult or they think the orphans aren't good enough or something. Yeah, because she's proud of where she comes from. Yeah, but she's a little ashamed of like the whole situation, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Through surgery, we could take off her ear. I also have a tail.
That's
we
right.
We could take that too. Yeah. No, she's perfect the way she is. But then she never adopts her after that. So it's just like, come on, Leela.
She's no longer in a stable relationship in order to take care of a child, right? So that's another thing too. But you're right. Yeah. So, in any case. She stuffs the thing down Chaz's throat. Chaz is clearly not getting lucky tonight. And that's where we end on them for now. Back in alternate universe, Fry is being hooked up to the brain, and they're going to transport it. They're just doing some calculations, and they successfully send him back, and they remember the deal for him to change it. So we get to go all the way back to basically the very first episode, a few different scenes again. December 31st, 1999, and we see Nibbler making the prank call, to Nibbler is so articulate about how he speaks. He's like, "What's your name?" He's like, I.C.Wiener.
Now, I have a question for that, because I think I've misunderstood that joke for a while.
Okay.
Is it like I can see your wiener kind of thing? Like, yes. I see wiener. Okay, so I always thought like cold wiener, like it was icy, because we live up here in the north, right? So I'm just my wiener's cold. It's icy kind of thing like that, right? So I always thought I was like, is that like? I've always kind of had that little brain.
You waited until season 5 to ask me that.
Yep.
Yes, it's supposed to be IC as an ICU. Yeah, IC wiener. Yes. So.
Okay,
that's
so funny.
It's funny that the IC thing, but yes, IC, yes. So, in any case, makes the prank call. You can hear Panucci's voice on the other end, and he goes to the cryogenics lab waiting for. Actually, you know what? Now that I say that out loud, it's funny. Actually, you make kind of a funny joke by accident. I'm going to make it clear to the audience, you did not do this on purpose, but it just so happens to be a play on word, because they're also going to a cryogenics tube, which freezes things, in which case Fry would be an icy wiener. But you did not think of that. So
no, it was icy wiener.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you that credit. Any case, cryogenics place, Nibbler's waiting for Fry. Fry shows up, obviously does the whole thing, like, icy wiener, whatever. And so he eats the pizza, sits there for 10 seconds. Now, before the whole thing starts, the future Fry, right, our Fry, shows up exactly at the time, or at the place where Nibbler is, behind him under the desk, where, the present Fry, I guess, whatever you want to call him, the not our Fry, is sitting oblivious to everything that's going on around him. Yeah. The two of them, Nibbler and Fry, are talking, and Fry is like, why would you do this to me? And all this stuff. You came back in time. Turns out Nibbler actually just lives a long time. So he had no understanding with this. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah.
I do have a huge, headcanon issue right here, because right now he's like, well, we don't have the ability to go back in time, but our sages have seen into the future. So is there like magic or something like that? Because future sight's not really sciencey. It's magic.
Yeah.
So.
It's magical, yes.
Magically, yeah.
Yes, I would say that would, it's hard to say. I guess it is kind of a magical thing, but it's not necessarily not
It's
science.
not hocus pocus kind of thing.
You can
right?
have, there are a lot of science fiction writers that do actually use precognition and other forms of like telepathy in order to predict the future, and sometimes they're correct about it. It could also be a big
Tom Cruise.
It could also be a big computer. What's that?
What was the Tom Cruise one? They actually do a parody of this in Futurama.
Yeah.
What was that one called?
Minority Report.
Thank you.
Minority Report. Yeah. Which also, they see flashes of the future, right? And they can use that. Yeah. And they do that. That's one of my favorite episodes. Of the
just because he used the word sages, that right there goes, ha! It's not sciencey wicey, it's magic wedgy.
Yeah, has a magical thing in it, I know. So that's fair. That's fair. But it's supposed to be this kind of thing. But in any case, he states like, no, in the future we're predicting that like we're going to need you in the future, and you won't live 1,000 years, so we need to freeze you now so you can save us in the future.
That is how unique Fry is. He's like one in a billion.
In history, yeah.
Yeah,
he's
because
not
how many people
He's one of all time. Yeah.
Yeah. How many people are born within 1,000 years from 1999 to 2099 or whatever. And just like
yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's the only person that they have foreseen have this defect, or whatever you want to call it, ability.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's crazy, right? And imagine, he was born before the universe started, so however old, he's like billions of years old at that point, right?
Nibbler's species, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it. So his whole situation, and the thing is, Nibbler sets into motion the way that Fry will automatically become his own grandfather to get the lack of delta brainwave as well. Because in order for him to have done that, he had to go to the future. If he does that... This is
the timey-wimey stuff I'm talking about.
This is the timey-wimey, but it's brilliant because you're like, all this had to happen in order for this to be the case, right? Like, it needs to happen. Fry needs to happen. This is the kind of time travel I love because it makes sense for the situation. And most of the time, Futurama does this. Most of the time.
Yeah.
Barring a few slight things that you and I will talk about, I'm sure, in the future. But in any case... Nibbler and Fry have this debate about, like, what's more important, yourself right now or the future of the people you care about, meaning, like, specifically Leela. Now, we'll talk about this a little bit later if you want to, but this is something you kind of bring up, and other people have brought up online, because we talked about this during our predictions for what could happen in the Hulu run, which didn't happen, but just for the sake of convenience.
I don't think I want them to touch either, because they won't do a good job.
And they would do a good job, but I still am under the impression it's nothing to do with actual importance. I think it's important to Fry. But in any case, Fry is asked by Nibbler, like, what's important to you to save in the future? He says Leela. Nibbler replies, she must be the other. And he says it kind of like in a mysterious way that Fry kind of goes back like,
there's a question of like, she's important.
Why do you say it that way? But I'm taking that to be Nibbler is saying that in the future, Leela is indeed with Fry, and that is supposed to happen, to which Fry is taking that to be like, oh, you mean like because he even says like, oh, you mean I might have a chance with her. So I think that she's important to him, which makes he important to the future, or makes him think about the importance of the future, which is why he saves it in the first place. And Nibbler makes the promise that no matter what, he will station himself close to Fry, and he will try and help him out with Leela in the future. Okay. So Fry says, okay, maybe I'll do that. And the countdown starts in 1999, and Fry, instead of Nibbler, blows the chair, which then knocks past Fry into the cryogenics tubes, thus sealing the future content, right? And we also get like a little scene of the change of the shadows, right? It's not just Nibbler now, it's both Fry and Nibbler, which I had made a mention of back in a couple episodes ago when we saw that happen, right? We actually saw the change in time, which was great because they had thought this through. This is a beautiful thing about this show, is that they had actually thought a few of these things through. So Fry's about to disappear back to his time, but he quickly tells Nibbler, Scooty Puff Jr. sucks. Make sure not to have that anymore. And when he returns, Fry is able to finally escape from being detonated in this timeline, right? Because he's changed the time slightly. He comes out and he's actually on a Scooty Puff Sr. So time can be changed. It just is in very minuscule amounts.
There's a note on here that on the infosphere.org that they're saying that's a goof, because like if he went back in time, like what he just did, to tell Nibbler that Scooty Puff Jr. sucks, then it shouldn't suck in the future when he went in the future to get put in the past. It's one of those things that it creates a paradox kind of thing.
It's the paradox of it, but it's the thing
Fry
that
disappears.
Changes.
So that Fry technically never got the junior one. So
yes, but it's talking about, because that Fry that's in the past, that's in the cryogenics tube, is going to go through the same situation this Fry just went through, right?
Yeah,
so he's going to have the Scooty Puff Sr., which means he's never going to go to the past to have that conversation with Nibbler. Yeah, I know. It is a bit of a paradox. But that's a little small thing that can change in the universe, right? That we can allow that because it's such a minor thing. But in any case, a Scooty Puff Sr., which is like a big bike, able to transport him from there, and he's safe. So Nibbler and Fry return to Earth, and Fry's like, oh, I'm so excited to tell people what happened. And Nibbler says, oh, yeah, well, I still need to be undercover. So he does his little eye flashy thing, which erases his memory, right, which you talked about earlier. Fry doesn't know what's going on, so he just walks Nibbler back as if nothing happened. Okay. And I guess it's still been just the night. So they just walk back after his walk and they go back to the Planet Express HQ, and Leela is there with Bender, and she gets Bender to blow a fire through a picture of her and Chaz because she clearly hates him. And then Fry walks in. She has this little moment of like, oh, you know, Fry is a really good guy. I'm glad that I have Fry in my life. And she's there with him and says like, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy you're here with me. And Fry says, well, I guess I'm the luckiest person in the world then for being here, or the greatest, most important person in the world now because of this. And she kisses him, legitimately kisses him. And we cut to black with a woohoo from Fry, or yes, because of the situation. And that is where the end of the Why of Fry. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. This episode is very important. Would you say it's not as funny though? Right, it's definitely not the funniest of the episodes. It has some good scenes.
I think there's some good jokes at the beginning. I think my personal favorite, if we're there, is I think the one where Fry is like going on about like how important he is, and then Bender and Leela come back and go like, we did such a good job, but you can't go without me. I'm the delivery boy. Well, looks like we didn't need you. In fact, we did such a good job. We got medals.
We got medals.
Then Zoidberg's there. He's like, they got medals.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why, but I love that so much because it's like
Zoidberg is just the worst. He's just the worst. He's like, what?
I don't think he was. I think he was being empathetic with him because it's like the way he looks is like, they got medals and you didn't, kind of thing. I'm sorry, Fry, kind of thing. And I love that. I also do love the joke like, we came here instead of eating today. I do love that one. And I'm pretty sure that the dinosaur joke. What really killed the dinosaurs? Me. Those are probably my three favorite jokes of this one. And there's a lot of little ones. Yeah.
There are. Mine are. I love Fry like saying like, how can I be important? I just got kidnapped by a bunch of guinea pigs. That's one of my favorite ones.
That's a funny little phrase.
And it's like, I wish that raccoon had never brought me to the future. So I love how he just keeps on using random rodents. I do like the pompous. I love Bob Odenkirk as Chaz. I think he really fits that character very well because we know him from so many different things nowadays. Like he has such a good voice.
The pompous idiot.
That pompous or like just sleazy kind of guy or whatever.
Well,
like
here's a fun fact about him. The Office, it was between Steve Carell and him to play Michael Scott.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what? He would have done really well too. He would have done really well.
Would have been a little different, but it wouldn't have as much heart, I would say, because Steve Carell did a very good job in that. Not that I don't think Bob couldn't have done it. I just think they would have taken it in a different direction, kind of thing.
I think Odenkirk, I think he would have been too similar to Ricky Gervais from the British version, like from the original version. I think they would have been a little too similar. I think Steve Carell does a bit different. It's differentiated.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
You look at the test for that show, and there's a bunch of different people that are like kind of famous now, kind of thing. Like Cam from Modern Family, the gay guy who's not gay in real life. He wanted to be Kevin, and he did a good job. But Kevin will always be. Oh, I can't remember his name now. The actual actor who played Kevin.
Guy.
Yeah.
I still think Creed is probably the best character in that show, but
it's just me. Good, yeah.
But that's cool. So Bob Odenkirk in this episode is wonderful. I love a lot of the little scenes we see like Elzar, we see or Zorgnax, and we see like all these kinds of things. There's not a lot. Like we get a little bit of Amy, a little bit of Zoidberg, but really not much.
I don't think does Amy even have a speaking role in this one?
Very minor. If anything, you're right. Actually,
credit only. Just looking at IMDb, she only gets credit only.
Yeah, so she gives Fry his little card that has like the delivery thing of it or whatever. He's like, interesting, yeah. But yeah, and then I love the Niblonians. I think they're so funny how they speak and everything. But I'll start first with mine. I guess like those are my favorite jokes. I also think my MVP is Nibbler. I think Nibbler starts it off. I think he has some of the best lines. I think he got some humor in it, and I feel like Nibbler gets some credit. We only ever see him so often. Like he only speaks so often. So it's nice to give a shout out to Frank Welker. So I think Nibbler is my MVP. How about you? Would you go with Nibbler as well?
I'm sticking with Fry because Fry. It's about his episode. It's about how it's just I'm so
the
down.
Fry.
Fry.
I guess
Nibbler's a good second though. I would say definitely.
Yeah.
And then I'd say Leela. And then Zoidberg, and then anyone else.
And then the only other person who spoke was Bender or Chaz, so you don't have much else to choose from.
There's I mean, looking at the IMDb and stuff like that.
Except for
like four Niblonians that talk.
And stuff the brain.
Like that. Tress MacNeille played Fiona.
The brains are
funny
though.
The computer from the Big Brain.
The brain has like what does he say? He says like,
Is this
clarification. Is this the Philip J. Fry from Earth or from Slimy World? Whatever. It's like, Earth, you
idiot.
badass. So that was
yeah.
I like how they're all
that's Maurice LaMarche. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that's great. Yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. And I think it's one of the best ones of the season for sure, and of the series, because it is important for it. But what I do love about it is that it is not the only time we're referencing Fry's Delta brainwave in the future. Even like even in the future of the show, we still get references to how he uses the brainwave to help him and help other people out. So that's also really good. I like that. But
here's a fun fact. Actually, this is the one of 2 Futurama episodes that we do not see the professor in. The other one we didn't see him was in Where No Fan Has Gone Before. I didn't know that. So that's a fun little fact. Yeah.
Because he does show up. He shows up at the end of the pilot. That's right. Yeah. Wow. Huh. There you go. Yeah, the professor is super important. It's funny that you're right. Yeah, we don't see him twice.
That's why I like opening up the infosphere. The infosphere. I screw that word up every time.
Say it again. Infosphere.
The Irish wristwatch.org.
Infosphere.
Infosphere.
Horrible. Any case, anything else to add to the episode then?
No, it's a really good episode, and I think it's a highly important one, especially with Nibbler and everything too being a part of it. Because we don't, like you said, we don't get many Nibbler episodes, but I feel like he's which one? I think basically after one of the Comedy Central runs, he's kind of been useless as a character, kind of thing. He hasn't had much impact.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
It's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, because like in the episode, I think that darn cats, right? It's established
I really like that episode.
Well, I like it because like so in the movies, which we'll talk about soon, the movies establish that like the Nibblonians are well known at this point to the crew and everything, and Nibbler as well. And they do have the continuity that Nibbler is because he has no purpose anymore. Because his whole point of his station was to send Fry to the point of defeating these brains. Like Nibbler's done now. I don't know why he needs to stay undercover anymore, but he's done. So the only other thing now is that he gets to be part of the crew because he's like, well, what else am I going to do? And so he talks and everything. And the crew don't treat him as, they don't respect him as much. Yeah. So I think that's funny. But it turns out he likes being treated as a pet. Yeah. So I like that.
They should bring that up more. They should get like other Nibblonians, like you're rooting the purpose or whatever. Like you're not fulfilling the purpose of your role, kind of thing. You not just want to be a pet, kind of thing. Yeah, that would be fun for them to do.
That'd be a fun episode.
So looking at his character on the Infosphere, he's only had I just counted 6 speaking roles plus 2 of the movies. So he's only had 8 episodes altogether where he speaks. And so far, it's been The Day That the Earth Stood Stupid, which we love. This one, The Why Fry. Then Bender's Big Score, when he's everyone out of the universe. And then this way he eats himself.
He bites himself and he eats himself.
And Bender's Game, I think he plays, that's the one where we find out how dark matter is used.
Yeah.
That darn Cats, which it was okay. It's an episode. I liked it more for Amy than for him. Overclockwise, which I don't remember him having much of a speaking role in that one. That was the first time that they thought they were going to be canceled for the Comedy Central run. And then they talked again in the Game of Tones, which I don't like that episode, but I like the feels of it because it's more about Fry and his mom. Yeah. I like that bit of it. And then Parasites Regained, which you and I hate.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, that episode. Oh,
yeah.
So bring that up.
Yeah.
To
make you think about how good we've gotten it right now. How good we've gotten it. It's going to slowly end soon.
Yeah. Nibbler.
So, but like he's been in a lot of episodes as the pet version, which is very funny to me because it's like, wait, how do you? Yeah, I'm speaking. You guys aren't surprised. Like, oh yeah, you forgot to blank her memory. He's like, well, how do they know that he can do that?
Like, well, why did you make me do this and go doo-doo in a litter box? Like, because you're cuter that way. Yeah.
So you are right. He's a very underutilized character, at least speaking role kind of thing.
Yeah. So no, if they did more for Nibbler in the future as like a part of the crew, I don't know what he would do exactly, but I think he's fine as the mascot or the pet.
The whole thing, the whole thing of Leela being the other kind of thing, right? And I had this huge thing about that Fry and Leela got together, and she doesn't have the Delta Wayne. She has it. She's not missing it. But say that her and Fry get pregnant together, and the baby has that, but she can use it while she's pregnant or something like that. That would be cool.
I don't think so. I don't think that's ever going to happen.
No, it's too smart. It's too smart of a thing.
Well, also it'd be like maybe she would pass off the lack of like a mutation because she's a mutant, right?
Oh
So she
yeah,
can do
that's true
things
too.
that humans can't do, and Fry has the lack of the delta brainwave, so their kid would have probably both situations, and that one would be like the chosen. But I
Oh,
think
I think
Fry
we
is
even
supposed to be
see.
the chosen one. No, we see a universe in
Yeah,
the
I was
most
saying,
recent one.
and
We
they,
saw
they
a
probably were
universe where
testing that. Do you think
yeah,
they were
where
testing
Fry
an
has a
idea there?
child. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I doubt it
it was
because
like a one-eyed
then you
Fry,
well if you do
maybe.
that then you take away the importance of Fry in the first place, right? Unless
Not
his
really.
his position was to save the universe and then his kid is supposed to do something else as well, which could be why Nibbler's still around. That could be, but we'll have to wait and see until then. But yeah, I guess that's where we'll finish off
Right. Yeah,
for
yeah.
the why of Fry. But yeah, we'll
Why
talk next
Fry?
time more. But yeah, thanks, man. We'll talk to you soon for the next episode, episode 9 of season 5, The Sting.
The Sting.
And yeah, we'll take a look into that in a little bit. So yeah, thanks for
Good
joining me,
episode.
and have a good one, man. Take it
Yeah,
easy.
you too. You too. Have a good one. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.